Welcome everyone to another episode of Mental Unblock. This is your host Omar, and this week we host yet another incredible and really inspirational entrepreneur. This one spent 3 years in the French Special Forces. He was also the personal advisor to France's Minister of Defense before he finally decided to establish the Middle East's fastest growing courier service. He's our guest today here at Mental Unblock Studios, the founder and CEO of Fetchr. Idris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
Feels like a lot of responsibility, and it feels like it's been quite a long journey since I started this, yeah.
So listen, I mean, I recently became familiar with Fetchr, even though it's been around for quite some time.
Yeah.
For others out there who don't know exactly what Fetchr is, just tell us very quickly, within 30 seconds or less, what is Fetchr exactly?
We're just like the new delivery service in emerging markets. We rely on smartphone. Everybody has a smartphone, nobody has an address. So we make your phone your home and we deliver wherever you are.
Tell us a little bit more about your background, because it's quite interesting. You're part Iraqi, part French. Tell us a bit more.
Yeah. So my dad is Iraqi and he was from Mosul. My mom is French, from the south of France, but like the unsexy part of France. And basically, so we moved, I'm born and raised in France, moved to Iraq, and then moved back to France. Basically born and raised in France. And then it feels like I've had like multiple like chapters. So I used to play professional basketball. Then I joined the Special Forces. Then I actually worked as the personal advisor to the French Minister of Defense. I loved it. Every chapter felt like it taught me a lot.
Sure.
Then I did my MBA, went to the US, University of Chicago, came back here, worked for BCG in consulting.
Okay.
And then...
So what year did you move to Dubai?
2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what year was it that you started Fetchr?
2012.
2012.
Yeah.
It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
So listen, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
When was it that moment that you realized, you know what, there's a gap in the market for this, or there's an actual need? What was your aha moment? When did you have that spark?
Yeah, so after consulting, I got to work at Market VIP, which was then like a fast-growing e-commerce company. And this is where I started dealing with logistics company. And I thought there was something missing, right? I discussed with like 20 different logistics company, and I could not find one that really understood technology and really understood customer care.
Sure.
And e-commerce, if you look at what's happening in China or in the US, you see like a lot of the e-commerce companies have been built, on the back of strong logistics company. And both go together. So you cannot have a strong e-commerce company and a strong e-commerce even ecosystem if you don't have a strong logistics company. So this is where I realized that there was something missing. Everybody understood that e-commerce was growing fast, but we tried to be that e-commerce logistics partner in emerging markets.
Tell me about that moment from when you left Market VIP and decided to start Fetchr. How did you first fund it? How did you first get everything together? Walk us through that entire journey.
It was very tough. I mean, look, so the ecosystem now is completely different from what it was like 6 years ago, right? So back then, so I remember, so I put all my BCG savings, and then I put all my family savings,
How much
my
was
Y
that?
savings. Probably all in all about $450K.
So $450,000.
Dollars. Yeah.
So you took money from your wife, from your parents, from everybody pretty much. How many people did you go through before you got to the point of asking your mother?
Everyone.
Right.
I tried, in the seed funding, I probably pitched to 100 people, and only and I'm so thankful to everyone who actually believed in it. Friends, family, crazy people, who just thought that we could do it. Because at the end of the day, it's just, failure is so close to success. We could have failed like 200 times since then. So I'm super thankful to the people who helped me. But looking back at it, there could have been like so many reasons why we would have failed.
And what was your mother's reaction when you told her, I want to take half of your life savings to put it into my crazy idea?
She offered it. I cried because I'm like, this is too tough. And you only reach that point when you're desperate. So technically, it's the riskiest money.
Sure. Right?
Because if everything was going well, you probably wouldn't ask your mom.
Correct.
Now it turned out well, right? So she exited the company. She actually sold her shares.
Right.
So she made 10, 15 times the money. So
right.
It all ended up being for the best, but
sure.
God.
Sure. So when you raised all this money initially, you put it into the business, and then you had to continue raising money. Where was the money going? Where was it being spent? Was it the human resources? Was it the technology?
Yeah, so the first year, we had no product, right? From September 2012 to like September 2013, we just built the product. We just built what I wish I had, again, when I was on the other side of the table. I tried to be like a tech logistics company. I remember we're like in June, July, we had our first 5 packages from a crazy client that believed in us. I remember we put that on the table and I said, "This is our first packages." We took a picture, and it's just crazy. So, okay, I think that most of the funding was going through developers just to build the software that we needed, and then it went into like literally drivers and then call center and then all of this, right? So, but it took a while to be able to get like some serious funding.
You already had. First of all, let me ask you this question: who do you consider competitors to Fetchr today in the market?
Look, we're not. The market is growing so fast. The e-commerce is growing so fast that we believe that there is like definitely room for everyone. But yeah, most of our clients used to work with the RMX. Yeah.
Okay, so when you decided to start Fetchr, RMX already existed.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, did you not consider yourself crazy going against RMX that was very well established at that point, and still deciding to do it? And what was that edge that you had to where you were convinced that, listen, we can take on this competitor because we have this? Was there an edge that you had?
That's a really good question. Look, I think that part of what makes an entrepreneur is a bit crazy, right? You underestimate all the issues you're gonna face, and you underestimate the competition, right? So, and it's only because you do that that you can start, because there is 200 reasons not to start a business, right? So you need to be convinced and a little bit schizophrenic, like on thinking, one, you need to be able to be realistic and know and understand your strengths and weaknesses, but at the same time, you still need to believe in what you're doing to make sure that you can move mountains. Okay. Right? So looking back at it, we didn't have an edge. Now we do. Obviously, it's 5 years ago, 5 years later, so it's a completely different story. But it's a lot about believing, right? And then you put your first guys on board, you put your first client on board, you keep on selling to everyone, right? You sell to your friends, you sell to investors, you sell to clients, you're involved with your clients because they believed in you, right? So it becomes personal. And then you build the product.
Okay. What were the most difficult moments that you experienced while building the company? What were some, and I'm sure you've got a few moments or a few experiences that resonate with you that you can think back on, like, wow, we were lucky to dodge that, or we were lucky to be able to come out of that. What were some of the toughest moments that you went through?
Look, I think for me, the toughest moment, I still remember, it was just like September 2014. We started raising some of the seed money, right? So we see like a couple of $100,000. And then we had a VC, so a venture capitalist, start structuring the round, changing the terms, and putting the other half pretty much of the money. And then the whole round crumbled the day they were supposed to do the transfer. So it's not only that money that crumbled, but all the people associated with them left because they say, oh, if they pull out, there must be something wrong with the company. So
what did you do? What did you tell people at that? Because I'm sure there were a lot of people expecting this funding to take place, and I'm sure you had planned a few things based on that investment. Yeah. How did you handle it?
So first, like you have to make sure that you don't disclose hopes to a lot of people, because with hopes comes a lot of disappointment. And if people they think they can handle disappointments, they actually cannot. And it creates a lot of toll on employees. So you need to be, this is what you differentiate a very good employee, very strong director, to an entrepreneur. It's two very different breeds. Entrepreneurs are okay with these up and downs. Good employees not necessarily are. And it doesn't mean anything about performance, but it means about how they can cope with failure and changing the finish line. So it was very difficult. It was very difficult. I took another loan.
How did you cope with it? Besides taking out another loan, from a mental perspective, how did you cope with it?
It was tough. It took me the way I handled this, and it happened after that, is just like for one day I'm just like depressed, and then I bounce back, and that's it. And that's always how I do this.
I mean, I feel like I probably already know the answer to this, but going through this journey, did you cry?
Yeah? The real question should be like, how many times did I cry?
How many times did you cry? Was it?
I don't know, a lot.
Wow.
Because look, and I'm always like extremely skeptical now, even when I read stories, because like when I see how Fetchr stories is being depicted, it feels like it's all rosy and like it all went well. Look, we managed to do stuff that nobody has done before. but it's at the price of so many failures, right?
Sure.
So many no's. So I pitch 300 VCs, 200 VCs, I don't know. And it's just only 10 came in. You see what I mean, right? So it means that 190 say no, and it's difficult. You still have to keep going.
Now, once Fetchr was up and running, what are some of the challenges that you guys face from an operational perspective? I ask this because me personally, I went through certain difficulties when it came to human resources.
Yeah.
Is that also the same? Is it one of the issues that you guys deal with? I'm sure it might be. But what are the biggest issues that you deal with from an operational perspective, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, a lot of them, right? So I mean, so I would say if I had to rank them, I would say like financial is definitely the biggest one. 2 would be legal, and 3 would be operational. On the operational level, it's very difficult and expensive to recruit and retain.
For those watching who might be interested in maybe a career in Fetchr now or down the road, what are you recruiting for? Actually, do you have any vacant positions now that you're recruiting for?
Oh yeah.
You might end up having somebody watching this who says, "Listen, great, that's for me."
Yeah. So what makes the book about recruiting is at the operational level, right?
Okay.
So obviously, we're recruiting about 100 people a week now, right? So just to give you an idea, right? So
are you growing that fast?
Yeah. We grew like 300-400% last year, 400% this year.
How many employees?
Right now we're about 4,000. We're probably going to be about 6,000 before the end of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is a lot going on. That's my point. So we're recruiting everywhere, right? At the end of the day, it's not. We're really trying to recruit for the right fits a lot more than for the right position.
Okay.
So we have some open positions, but honestly, what we need is like a hustler, like people who can really fit into the startup.
So when
mindset.
you're saying hustlers, are you putting out a message that you're looking for aggressive salespeople?
Aggressive, it probably is not the words, but
I'm trying to get a tangible, actual work opportunity that is available at Fetchr for anyone who's interested.
Yeah, so we're recruiting everywhere. So but I think the 2 main quality really that you should have is one, you need to be humble, because at the top we're all humble, and we understand that a lot of the success came with a lot of work and a lot of close to failure, right? So that's 1, and 2, you need to be self-driven. Okay, so we're not gonna tell you what you need to do. You have to create your own position. You have to create your own jobs. You have to create your own targets.
What are your strongest assets as Idriss? What's your strongest asset?
You mean as a CEO, a founder?
Sure. From a professional level, and then give me one on a personal level.
I think I'm good at leading people, and it's probably coming from unlike a lot of people, especially in the startup. Like I'm not alpha, right? So I'm very consensus building, and it's funny because like people who think that I'm coming from the special forces, so they think I've got like military style, like way of handling people, and it's completely the opposite. Special forces is the opposite of military. Special forces is, and that's where I come from, and I think this is where it built my DNA really. It's literally a team of like 15 people that don't know each other, coming from 6 different countries with different agenda, and you need to make it work, right? So it's not an obligation of means, right? And in philosophy, there's obligation of means, obligation of results. It's not, oh, I tried and it didn't work. No, he has to work. Do whatever it takes to make it work.
Sure.
It's an obligation of results. On the field, obviously, if it doesn't work, you get killed.
Sure.
Right? But in the startup, it's just like the company goes under.
So were you actually out in war zones? Were you involved in combat?
Yeah, I've been deployed in 13 countries, in like from Somalia to Central African Republic, Sudan, Chad, Congo, Angola. Sure. Yeah. So.
But you don't necessarily bring a lot of what you've experienced in combat or a lot of your military background into the work environment. I mean, is there no link between the 2?
There are links. I think that like one is definitely like the fact that it has to work, and that mentality, like I'm not looking for excuses, like losers find excuses, winners find solutions, right? So like just find it, and we can, especially early stage now, it's slightly changing, but early stage, you need people who are doers, who are always going to find a crack in the system and is going to make it happen, right? So you need these kind of people. And then there is this kind of relentlessness that military has. Like I remember like when I was going through the test of the special forces, it's just like in like 72 hours, you barely sleep, barely as in 2-3 hours. And for a full week, you sleep like probably like 8 hours. Wow. So it's tough. And then you start learning how to sleep while jogging. So it's a lot of running. So you don't run fast, but you need, and then at some point, your just mind disconnects. So you realize that you actually sleep and run. And you need to start doing this because otherwise you're just gonna snap out.
Wow.
So like there is like this mentality of always like relentlessness, always moving, right? Always moving, always fighting.
Do you expect that same level of dedication or relentlessness from the people that you actually work with as well?
Obviously now.
Do you ask your staff to sleep and run?
No, it's just a mindset. I think like you need to have this commando mindset, and that's important. At top level, I would say it still is critical. Obviously, at other level, we can't expect that from everyone. But
At what point, and why did you actually decide to take on other people in this operation, such as partners? I know you have another co-founder or a partner, Joy, and then there's the COO, Omar.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to take on more people?
So Omar actually started with me like almost on day one.
Okay.
And and he's taking care. He's literally running the company. He's the CEO. He's running the company. Joy. So Joy came like a year and a half after we started, but she was one extremely successful previous venture. So she managed to raise, sell, exited the company. So that's one. And then two, she was our exact opposite, right? So I'm not fancy. I'm not marketing. Everything that I do, creative design, is just horrible. And she's that exact mindset. So we're the complete opposite. We get along super well. That's because of that, because she knows what she has to do. I know what I have to do.
Sure. Do you guys ever have disagreements?
Yeah, tons. Every day.
How bad does it get?
Oh, it gets bad.
Have you come close to parting ways with any of the close people that you work with?
No, it's tough. It's tough. Look, it's not so much disagreements, but it's just like the stress that is under you, and you're making like 500 decisions a day, and then at some point you get annoyed by people. I think it's just normal. Okay. But yeah, we never yell at each other, or rarely, but we always end up coming to a decision, and then we all stick to it, which is what matters, even if it's not, disagree and commit.
Okay, excellent. Now, you're also married?
Yeah.
Happily? I don't think you have a choice but to say yes, right? Otherwise, it won't be happily anymore. But I also ask this because I'm trying to find out, how do you actually manage to balance between your life at home, your marriage, and actually being an entrepreneur? Was your wife or spouse supportive of you throughout your journey?
Extremely. And look, if I'm here, it's because of her, right? So she not only puts her money, but she really backed me up. And there is the facade that you have, right? Even with everyone, but then you have when you go home, when it's 11 p.m. and just like, man, what am I doing?
Right.
Am I not losing my years? Like, I had 5 years ago, I had no white hair. I look like 15 years younger, right? So it's just tough. It takes a toll on you. And she always believed in me. She always backed me up. So yeah, tremendous.
So you have your wife, you have your parents, and a few other people that invested with you from the get-go. These are people that believed in you.
Yeah.
What about the flip side of that? I'm sure you've experienced a few of those people, the non-believers, or for the lack of better words, the haters.
Yeah.
How much of that did you have to deal with?
I mean, it's part of the game, right? So look, you have the non-believers that are just making your life harder, and then you have the people that believed in you that start not believing in you. These ones are tougher. So for example, I've got some investors that became problems, right? So like people that start having like negative NPV in a way. So it's just like it becomes like I have to run a business, I have to build a business, and I cannot report to you like every week.
So how do you do that? How do you manage to block that out or deal with that negativity?
That's very difficult, honestly, because they're friends at the end of the day, right? So you cannot. And then I'm very like I'm always very careful of not treating any shareholder differently than the others, because I'm just trying to be as equal as possible. And it's difficult that from a friend, you are treating him as a friend, and now you're treating him as a shareholder that has very limited rights to know in the company, right? That transition is difficult.
And so how do you do it? How do you separate between business and friendship then?
It was tough. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're the right person because you're doing it quite well. So.
No, I don't know. I think it was difficult. We had tough discussions. We had disagreements. And it's just that at some point you have to make it clear. You have to make it clear that you cannot treat them differently, because then it's lawsuits, right? So this is when the company is not only yours, right? It becomes bigger than yourself. Okay.
Now, I'm sure you've had days, weeks, months, very long hours, a lot of sleepless nights trying to bring this dream to reality. Throughout those tough times, what is it that actually inspires you? How do you find the will to actually keep fighting for what you believe in. What is it that inspires you? What is it that motivates you, in other words?
So I mean, I've always, and if you look at, you know, like what I did like previously, I'm always trying to do like what people tell me that I'm not gonna be successful at.
Why?
I don't know, man. It's just like, I feel like it's just in my DNA. I just want to prove everyone wrong.
Okay.
And not everyone about myself really, but prove everyone that thinks that somebody cannot do it.
Sure.
It's not so much about myself. It's about having your predefined opinion on what somebody else can or cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
I hate this. So more than me, like I love to prove that. And then it became slightly bigger. I honestly, like now, like from all the people that invested early stage and believed in me, I want to give that 100 times.
Okay.
Because it's just like, it became personal, right? Like, every time someone was giving me like $50,000, $20,000, my brother was just like making like $1,000 a month, you know, like asked me like how much he could help for the business. He'd say, okay, I can give you like $3,000. He made me cry, man. It's just like, it's just like, it's really to put everything because he believes in you, and he's just,
sure.
Even though it doesn't move the needle for you, right?
Right.
So look, yeah, I want these people who believe early stage when I had nothing but me and my PowerPoint, yeah, to be able to buy a house.
You mentioned at one point in the early stages you're actually sleeping on friends' couches or stuff like that.
Yeah, for a year, yeah.
Yeah. Are you still friends with these people?
I'm still friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. With these guys, yeah, I am. But it's funny because so like for a year, so we crashed quite a few places. So we start seeing patterns on how our hosts were behaving, and and then we realized, okay, it's time to go.
Right.
So yeah, like 4 or 5 couches we did.
Right.
Because you need to pay the whole salary. You need to pay, like when you get an office, you need to pay everything in advance.
Sure.
And you had no salary for like 2 years.
How does it feel now when you look back? I mean, you know, if you take a moment to reflect back on where you started, a lot of the failures that you had to deal with, a lot of the rejection, and so on and so forth. Do you ever take time to look back and see how far you've come along, and how does it feel to look back at the success that you've achieved?
So I think I'm probably the wrong person to ask here, because I mean, I never do that. I never look backwards and I pat myself in the back and saying that what we did is great. Even like when we receive awards and stuff, like it just means nothing. I always think, like the way I think about it is just like chapter 1. We just did that chapter. Okay, there is so much more to be done. And I think for me to be able to start looking back, I need to start being like 100% proud of what I did. And I'm not there. Like there's so much to grab. We're just scratching the surface. We are just scratching the surface. And as long as I think that way, I cannot start looking back and saying, "Oh, we did great." No, it's a good start. Okay, sure. We're running the 100 meters and we're made at 10. Okay, good start. Let's get running.
So, what's next for you? If you're talking about this chapter 1, you're just scratching the surface. What's next?
There's just like so much to be done. Look, like what we're doing is e-commerce delivery for like 90% of what we're doing, right? E-commerce is growing like 50% per year, and it's still very nascent in other parts of the world. If you look at Africa and so on, it's still a very small percentage, right? So we want to enable e-commerce anywhere, all across emerging markets. So we want to be in 50 countries, you know, in the next 10 years.
What's your USP at Fetchr compared to?
We're just e-commerce friendly. E-commerce are looking for a tech-enabled logistics company. Okay. This is what they want. They don't want old school companies.
When you say tech-enabled, I think what you're referring to is the ability to track your packages.
It's part of it, yeah. And then ability to integrate, ability to actually feed back to their own software anything that is happening, being able to take actions of the fly, being able to provide the visibility on a live basis. All of this, right? All this new generation, right? Now everybody's looking at Karim and Uber, right? So consumers are used to this kind of experience, and you're still being asked to be stuck at home for 6 hours if you want to receive a package. There is something weird about it. And including in the Middle East, right? We have like flying taxis like in 2 years, and we still don't have addresses, and you're still being asked to be at home for 6 hours if you want to receive a package. There's something wrong about it fundamentally.
So obviously, one of the cool things that you guys do is no matter where you are, as long as you have a cell phone, you can receive your package there, and that's smartphone. Okay, cool. Now we were talking about investment earlier. People investing, raising funds. How much have you guys raised to date?
52 million. I think.
$52 million. Yeah. And that's in how many rounds?
3 rounds: seed, A, and B. Yeah.
Okay. And I think you're currently in the process of maybe another big round.
Yeah, we're always looking, right? We're always trying to be the next round. Yeah. Correct.
And can you disclose that amount?
No, so we're not yet because it's not finalized.
Okay.
I wish it was,
right.
but yeah, no, we're still working on it. But yeah, it would be out soon, hopefully.
Fair enough. And now, what do you plan on doing with your next rounds? I mean, is there a particular area that you're looking to grow in? Is there, I mean, is it the technology for you guys? Is it the human resources? What is the main area that you guys are looking to invest your money in at this point, or for the next round at least?
Yeah, so I mean, two key things, right? One is technology, the other one is just operations and expansion.
Sure.
On the technology side, you know, it's crazy because people underestimate the number of engineers that is required to build a company that is growing at about 300% a year and trying to deal with a problem that has not been solved by anyone. If you look at, it's funny because I go a lot to China these days, and then you look at, you know, like Cainiao, which is basically the logistics interface between the Alibaba platform and all the logistics players. They have like 4,000 engineers.
Wow.
Just for that. So it's just like the power you need to have on the software side to build a product that is like seamless is just tremendous, and people underestimate that, especially when you start a company. So technology would definitely be one. And then two is expansion. We're only in 6 markets. We want to be in 10, 12 markets, you know, very quickly.
Now, as we get close to wrapping things up, just wanted to ask, with the rounds of investment that you've allocated so far, and you're working on another big one, are you still majority shareholder in the company? How much have you had to sacrifice?
Yeah, I'm not shareholder. I'm not a majority shareholder,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm still a sizable shareholder.
Okay, so do you still, as your shares get smaller and smaller, do you still find the same drive? Do you still have the same passion towards the company and wanting to get up, even though you earn less and less? Not earn, but have less shares.
I think it's 2 different things, right? Honestly, and I know they're related and they're supposed to be related, but I was driven, like I was extremely driven when I had 0 equity in the previous company, right? So it's just like, I think it's all about, my drive has nothing to do really with the level of ownership that I have. It's just that I want to crack that issue. You know, I want to crack that, and then the rest will come. So I'm not counting this. And I think even as entrepreneurs, because I'm trying to coach like early stage entrepreneurs, it's just, you know, this is, you'd rather have 10% of $1 billion company than the rest. So you need to be okay with foregoing the company. You need cash to grow. Okay. You need cash if you want to grow your company.
Second to last question, you're saying you coach a lot of entrepreneurs. What are some of the common traits that you see within these people in terms of, you know, the difficulties that they face? What are some of the hardest things that these entrepreneurs that you're coaching actually deal with today, and how do you help them overcome it?
I mean, I think the difficulties that they face are fairly similar across the board, which is has to do with financing, legal, and finding the right talents. Basically, if you take these 3 out, this is like 90% of their problem. So it's very similar in a way across entrepreneurs. But you know what you cannot teach an entrepreneur is the ability to get up the next morning. That is just in your DNA or not.
Okay. And you wake up every day at 5:30, I think you said.
Yeah,
right?
5:30.
You do that every day.
No alarm clock.
Is that something you got used to from the military, waking up at 5:30?
No, actually, no. Yeah. I got a bit lazier after that. But no, it's just this is the only time you have control. You have control over when you wake up. So if you want to like cram gym or any type of like me time, this has to be in the morning, because the evenings are just gone. Or at least they're not in your control.
Do you actually find time for yourself?
In the morning, yeah.
Time? Yeah.
Yeah, in the morning, I manage to go to the gym, but then it's difficult. The evening is tough. And then with the time difference, right? When you're dealing with, we have Silicon Valley investors. Sure. So like you span across.
Okay. What advice would you like to give to entrepreneurs, people that are watching this? What sort of advice would you want to give?
You need to be very, I mean, I don't know if it's an advice, but I think you need to be very sure on what you're doing, right? You need to be aware on why you're doing this. About 80% of startups fail and get 0 from all their assets, right? So you literally come back with 0. Okay, so you have to be comfortable with this. You have to understand that this is the most likely scenario that you're gonna fail, and you have to be okay with this. So that's one. And I think that if it is in you, then you really need to go after it. I think there is no right time. There is no right time to start. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, people we have, who want to do that for a couple of years and don't want to talk to anyone because they think they have the next like Facebook story. Sure. It's just that it's just wrong. 99% of what makes a startup a success is execution. 1% is the idea. Right? So you need to you need to be comfortable sharing your idea, because otherwise you're not going to get investors, you're not going to get people to join you. So you need to be very comfortable with this. You need to be very comfortable working with very long hours, and you need to be even more comfortable dealing with uncertainty, right? Not knowing what next month's going to be like.
Any regrets from what you've done and the way you built the business, or any decisions that you've made? Is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's part of making mistakes, right? I think, probably my biggest weakness was just not to cut ties with people that were bad for the company, be it investors, be it employees, be it just people who come with with negative influence within the company, right? So I tend to give people a second chance and a third chance, while experience have proven that it actually never works. But I'm still stupid. I'm still trying to, because I think it's important, right? Like I always believe that in second chance. I always believe that people can get better.
Sure. All right, excellent. A tricky one. Your favorite movie?
Gattaca.
Okay, I don't know it.
Yeah, it's cool. You should watch it.
Favorite band or music?
Oh man, this one is tough.
Do you even listen to music?
I do. I'm listening to a lot of British pop these days. Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. Idriss, man, thank you very much for coming here.
You're welcome.
Really love your story. Very inspirational, and definitely connect with you on another level, being that you're originally Iraqi and so am I. So definitely feels good to see a success story like that. So thanks again for coming on the show. We'd like to have you again too.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
There you have it, guys. Another great story from the founder and CEO of Fetchr. This is your host, Omar, signing off. Until next time. See you.